everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stash Chats. I believe we're on episode 33 now, but I'm not quite sure. I've lost count by now. But we've had loads and loads of wonderful episodes, so do check out the playlist on our YouTube channel if you want to catch up on any of our previous episodes. So tonight, I'm going to be talking to a really exciting guest, the amazing Victoria from Little Rosy Cheeks. So Victoria makes really gorgeous like sewing label designs, children's patterns, loads of incredible stuff, and she's been sewing for a really long time as well. So I'm really excited to hear more about her sewing journey. So do pop into the chat so that we know that you're watching, and pop down any questions that you've got for Victoria about her stash or label tips or anything you want to know. Just pop that in the chat and I'll weave it into our conversation. So let's crack on and I'll get Victoria onto the call. Hello, Victoria.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Yeah, really good. How's it going?
I'm good, thank you, really good. I've had a bit of a hectic day, but I'm relaxed now. I've got a nice little glass of wine. I thought I'll treat myself while we're having our little stash chat. So
excellent.
Yeah,
so if you gulp it too quickly and the chat starts getting chaotic,
then I know I'll be like, ooh.
Yeah, we've already got some label fans in the chat. Mel says she's a label addict.
Oh, brilliant.
And Linda says, I love labels and everything sewing, so this should be good. So that's good. Off to a good start already.
Oh, brilliant. Oh.
So hello, Hannah. Well, thanks for joining us this evening. So Victoria, do you want to just kick us off with a little bit about yourself and how you first started sewing?
Yeah, so I am probably like a lot of people that sew, or in my experience had like parents or grandparents that sewed, or were surrounded by crafts. So my gran and my mum were sewers and always made things for me. Although I didn't actually, they didn't really tend to involve me. And I think being a parent now, I understand that it was kind of their thing that they did. So although I was the receiver of a lot of things that they made, I didn't actually like tend to sew with my gran or anything like that. But
did you want to when you were like shut out, or they were like?
My gran would teach me how to knit, but we never did any like machine sewing. But I remember really fondly like a particular dressing gown that she made. And at the time when she first gave it to me, I was like, I just wanted a like C&A dressing gown, and she'd made me this beautiful like tartan dressing gown. And it was like out of a quilted fabric. So yes, I was kind of surrounded by makers. And then I was really into art at school. I did a lot of like art and design, and I would spend like all my nights doing designing up in my bedroom after school. So when I was trying to decide what to do at uni, the only thing I really enjoyed doing was like art and design and shopping. So I went to Glasgow and studied fashion business. And that's where I learned to sew. So the half the course was practical sewing, and half the course was but basically they didn't know what else to do with us. So we used to do like loads of random business subjects like statistics and things like that.
That's really useful.
It was really, it was good. But I was like in love with the practical side of it, and it was great because we got to use all the industrial machines. Like the rooms had like huge cutting tables. We learned how to pattern draft and draft our own blocks and just sew really. So I loved it. And so yeah, after I did that, I like had a real bug for sewing. And then after I finished uni, I ended up working in H&M, and I worked as a manager there, and I got like a 40% discount. So I stopped sewing at that point because I used to just buy clothes, and it was before like Primark times. So I used to just spend all my wages on clothes, and then I've always worked in retail head offices. So I worked for Shoe for a while, and my sewing kind of took a bit of a backseat. And then when I moved down to London, when I moved back from London, I started getting back into dressmaking. And making, obviously starting with like classic Tilly and the Button patterns that everyone sort of starts with, and just became completely addicted. And a lot of obviously my experience that when I'd sewn at uni was like all came into play. So I kind of started sewing when I was 17. although we did sewing at school. I don't know if you did sewing at school.
A little bit, yeah. What was your experience of that?
Well, I just always, the only things I can really remember are sewing onto a piece of paper without any like neat thread in. So we just like had to follow like lines, which because I teach sewing as well, I always get my people that come to my classes, I always used to get them to sew on lines, but it's really cruel because it's really hard to sew on a straight line. It's like a bit, it's not very nice. I get people to like sew around corners and stuff. But I remember sewing onto paper to make like holes in the paper. And I remember a boy in my class having to go up to hospital because he sewed on his finger. So that was like quite an interesting start. And then I remember making my cousin a little teddy in class, and I was like, so I loved crafting and loved making. But that was my
sort of. I feel like sewing lessons at school are always quite chaotic. Yeah, but now I think back, I'm like, so there was like one teacher and one assistant supervising 20 kids who've never seen a sewing machine before. Like, of course, it was crazy.
I know. I don't know if you've ever taught children or like before, but I did do a sewing class with children, and it was really good fun. But they are so like confident, and but it's like you're just like and they're just like going off with the machine, and it's so good to see. But then it is like chaotic, and that's with like 8 children. I've taught with like 6 to 8 children in a group, so I can't imagine like teaching a full class like that. So
I feel like even with like adult beginners, the beginner confidence is unparalleled. Like I don't know, for me as a beginner, you're like, oh yeah, how hard can it be? I'll just give this a go. I know, and then you do it and you're like, this is rubbish.
Because like it's very easy to get your confidence knocked when you first start sewing, I think. And I always think that's a massive part of teaching, is just filling people up with confidence, because, you know, I've had people like in classes and they've been freaking out because they're having to use an unpicker. And I try and explain, like, unpickers are actually like a sewing tool. Like, you should be using unpickers, you know, because you've got to, you know, that's all part of having the perfect make. So you will use an unpicker. It's not a bad thing. So
yeah, I love using my unpicker. It's like a second chance, isn't it? If you think, oh, that's not quite it, just like, oh, here we go, unpicker, try again.
I know. Well, like I don't really like unpicking my own things, but like I always like crowned myself the unpicking queen when I'm teaching, because if anyone else needs anything unpicked, when I'm doing a retreats with Jen, I'm always like straight in with my unpicker, unpicking everyone's bits and bobs. So yeah, I don't mind unpicking other people's things, but not so much my own. But
yeah. Amazing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about starting Little Rosy Cheeks as well?
Yeah. So I was, at the time I was teaching dressmaking and beginner sewing classes, and obviously we went into lockdown. And at that point in time, but up until that period, probably, so that would have been in 2020, obviously. I don't think anyone's forgotten the year. And so the year before that, I was sewing a lot for my children and my husband, making them things, and there wasn't really any like clothing labels out there to put on their garments. There was a lot of like clothing labels that said me made, or, you know, handmade, but it would be quite like cutesy or like bright colors and stuff. So I just felt like it would be nice to have something. So when I made my husband a coat in 2019, I like hand embroidered like "You Are Loved" into the back of the coat. And then so yes, I was doing that, and then I felt like it would be good to do something cute for kids, and I always wanted to start a pattern company. So having like that be my favorite subject at university. So when lockdown hit and I couldn't teach, but I was homeschooling 2 children, but I decided that I was going to try and make do some labels to sell, and I didn't think it would be a huge thing. I just thought I'll just have a bit of fun. But being from a retail background, like working in head offices, I did want to like do it like like make it look professional and do it in a good way. I think I always like when I started the business, I could see where I wanted it to be in 5 years, but I wanted that to happen in like 5 months. So yeah. So anyway, so I did some designs, got some help with a graphic designer as well, because I didn't have great experience at that point in time with Illustrator. and put some designs together and had the labels made. And because I was quite friendly with a lot of people on Instagram at that time, sent out some samples to like friends and set up a website and launched the labels in November of 2020. So that's how I sort of spent my lockdown starting the business, which was really good. So it was a good way to kind of keep creative and keep sane. So yeah, and actually the money that I had for starting the business, when I made from selling face masks. So I sold a lot of face masks for family and friends in lockdown, and I think I sold 500 for family and friends, and I got like really addicted to like sewing them. I just like batch cut them and sewed them, and then just like gave them out to all family. And then the sewing shop where I was working at the time, they had a lot of people asking for face masks. So my Aileen, who owns a shop, had said to me, "Do you want to make some and we'll sell them?" And I made 2,000 of them in the end. So it was a lot of face masks in my hometown.
You must have got a good sort of production line down.
I was just like, I think that's part of my personality trait as well. I was just like cut and sewing. So I didn't do a lot of dressmaking during that time. So
I mean, there was nowhere to go, so not much to have a nice outfit.
Just make face masks. So yeah. So that's
really
how
cool.
That's how it started. So one of the labels, the first label that I did was when the kids went back to school after lockdown. I had to like put little notes inside their like pockets of their and then their bags, just to say like little affirmations, because they were quite nervous about going back to school. So that was sort of the first label I designed with the little rainbows, because I don't know if you remember, but we're all putting rainbows in our windows. And so the one that says I am me, and I'm important enough, and I matter. So it was like all positive. So that, I thought, for me, the labels became like a little love note rather than just saying like that you had made something yourself. There was like a lot more meaning to them, and a way of telling people how much you care for them and love them. And I think labels are a great way of expressing that as well. So so that was kind of the ethos and the thought behind the business. So
I think especially when you're making stuff for somebody else as well, like a label can be a really like nice extra touch that they might not expect.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, and I get a lot of people buying labels because I've got lots of positive like affirmation labels. A lot of people buy them and put them into like a lot. When I go to the shows, a lot of people share photos with me, or like stories of something that they've made, like quilts that they've made where they've put like a label into something. So it's special. I think it's nice, and I'm going to try and do a few more of those this year, because I've not done as many of those recently. So that's on my hit design list. So
I really love that reel that you did with the poem and everyone's things that they chose to show. That was really sweet.
I know, it's so nice. It does feel really special, and it's when people are buying like things to show you. It's so like, I don't know if this is like a Scottish thing or a British thing, but if someone says to me that, usually if I get an email or it'll say like something about, oh, I received my pattern or I received my labels in the post, my automatic instinct is to go, oh my God, something's wrong. They've received like something like different, or they're not happy. And then I open up the email, and the email's like a really lovely like email saying that they received the labels and they received the patterns and they love them and thanks so much. And it's so special. And that's what I love about the shows, is meeting people, seeing what people are making, and just chatting to everyone. So so I thought
it definitely like hits different speaking to people in person as well, rather than like email. I feel like an email inbox can become a bit of a chore, isn't it? And every time you get a new email, you're like, oh God, another one.
I know. So definitely.
Seeing people and then seeing things they've actually made as well is really nice.
I know, it is like a real like privilege, like it for something that you've created that's like touched your hands, because it's like myself and my mum like pack all the labels, mostly my mum, and it's nice. It's something that I've had and sent out to somebody, and they've like taken the time to like sew on to something that they've made. It's really special to be part of that process of everyone sewing. So it's really is an honor, actually. So
you're like directly connected to so many departments.
I know. I know, it's really nice. It is. It's really nice. It's a good connection to people, and yeah, it's nice.
So how are the new patterns going as well? Because you've just released a bunch
Good.
of children's patterns.
Yeah, really good, really good. So I've got 3 patterns, which are a dress, trousers, and a t-shirt, and I'm working on another pattern at the moment. So we've done the first 12, and I've just got the second amends. So I'm going to try and get those sewn up after the weekend, and so hopefully be looking to test that in the next couple of weeks. So I'm doing another dress. It's going to be called ethos. So which is the Scottish word for intention. So I like trying to use like different words, not just like girls' names, or I try and like think of something a wee bit different. So and then I want to try and work on some more gender neutral patterns that will be suitable for everybody. So yeah, so I've got lots of plans, but they're going really well. So it's been really nice. So
are your kids like keen for getting involved in photo shoots and stuff, or they sort of begrudgingly do it?
No, they don't. They're not keen. They're not keen. They're not keen. And actually, my son at the last one was a little pain because he just like didn't want to be there. And like some of the photos, he was like going like that. And he was like,
your head out of this portrait.
I know, it's so annoying. But actually, I said to them last time, because they've got a little bank account and they get pocket money for doing chores and stuff in the house, like getting themselves ready in the morning, and they get like extra money, like £1 here and there for doing things. And so last time we did the photo shoot, I said to them, this is a paid job. And I was like, you're going to be models on this photo shoot, and you'll get £10, which I thought was quite a lot of money. And they both got. I was like, so there was a marked improvement in the
excellent bribery. That's the secret.
Yeah. So yeah, and usually my nieces as well. They help. So it's good because it usually is quite last minute, and it's expensive to produce the patterns, especially like the paper patterns, obviously. So being able to use free child labour and pull all the family together to help was great. So yeah.
Oh, that's really cute though.
Yeah, so they're going really well. Yeah, so it's good. So I'm excited to show the next pattern. So it'll be good.
Yeah, exciting.
No.
So should we talk a little bit about your stash?
Yes, let's do that. I'm like, oh. So it's like revealing your like, secrets or something, isn't it? Yeah. So do you want to know a little bit about what my stash looks like?
Yeah. Yeah. So how would you describe your stash?
Well, my stash has got two levels, 2 stages. There's and that's in a physical sense as well. So I've got so I have I moved house and I did a big renovation last year. So I have been in my house for a year now, and during that process, so I had to do, when I was moving house, I had to have a big sort of declutter of my stash. But I'm not very good at letting go of things. So I did with my stash, I've obviously had to pack it all into boxes, and a lot of it went to my mum and dad. I've got a house with a huge basement. So my stash went into the basement, and I kept back some things that I was going to like sew for when I was in my house. And so the stuff that's at mum and dad still hasn't come back. So I've just built a secondary stash in my house. So I've got 2 stashes, and I've now been told by my mum that my first stash is going to be getting evicted soon. So I'm going to have a united stash again. So yeah. So I think my stash at my mum's, I have got a lot, and dad, sorry, I've got a lot of like craft cotton, some of your beginner sort of level fabrics. Even though I did donate, usually if I'm getting as a fabric, I'll donate a lot to the school to use, or we've also got like a fashion course at a local college here, so I'll hand some fabric into that as well, which I've done in the past. So the stash that's at my parents' house, couldn't probably tell. I could remember a few things, but I'm not 100% sure. So
it's a legacy stash.
I know. I'm like, it's going to be like Christmas when I get the boxes back. So, but I think there are a lot of like, you know, craft stuff that I've accumulated over the years, like tie-dye kits and all that kind of stuff. So, and a lot of cotton. So, and then I say my stash here isn't too bad. I'm looking around because I've got like a mustard made cabinet, and I don't go too much beyond that. So I usually try and keep the cabinet to sort of fabrics together, so anything wintry and like stuff that would like sew for spring summer. So I've got some shelves behind me, and I've like pulled out some fabrics that I want to sew with for spring summer, and I'll keep those out so to remind me what I have. But yeah, so it's a manageable stash, but I can use a lot of things. Like I do use quite a lot of things. Like I've got some viscoses that I don't think are quite me anymore, but I'll use those to sample patterns, which is quite a good excuse for that. So yeah, I'm trying to use a lot of what I have at the moment, which I think is exactly what Stash Hub is all about. So yeah, so trying to go through that. So, but I do like to treat myself when I see new fabrics coming onto some of my favourite shops. So yeah, so it's so at the moment I don't know, I'm one of those people that has to see what they've got laid out in front of them. So yeah, so I've got things laid out, and I usually have projects cut out, and I keep them on a trolley, and I keep on the seconds, like the little IKEA trolleys, and then I usually put fabrics onto that I want to work through next. So
you like a batch cutter? You cut a few projects at a time?
Yeah, I do. And then because I've got a studio now, which is I've got quite a big sewing room actually, and then I've got, which I'm in just now, and I've got a studio as well where I've run the business from, and I also teach some classes. So sometimes I'll take a project along to that if I'm waiting for a class to start, or if I've done something and I've only got half an hour before I need to go and pick up the kids, I'll cut something out. So yeah, so I'm a batch cutter. I don't tend to cut, like I'll cut different things like an outfit. So at the moment I'm cutting a Bloma tee. I keep looking over in this direction because it's like right on my table, and by Paradise Patterns. So and then I'm cutting out at the same time I'm going to cut I think is it called a Xanthe skirt by Sew Over It.
The sort of denim skirt type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm cutting that out. So that's a little outfit, and then I've got some other bits and bobs. So yeah, so I'm just I'm not, my sewing room isn't the most organised as it could be at the moment. So but yeah, I'll cut out I'll maybe cut out like 4 or 5 projects and bag them up. So and then have them all sitting on my trolley waiting. So which is a good way to do it. I've got the odd thing that I've had cut out in a bag for a few months, but mostly I do work through the projects in that way.
Yeah, when you've got just a little bit of time, like having to cut out a whole project is not something you can do, is it? You need more time for that. So it's good to be able to grab something and get started.
Yeah, I'm quite a quick sewer, and I tend to sew like in small periods of time. So because I've got the kids at home and I don't get a lot of time, like, and when the kids were wee, I don't know if you can hear them, they've just come home from Cubs. Because when the kids were small, I used to start sew at night time for like from 7 o'clock at night when they went to bed until 10 o'clock at night. And I'd get like good chunks of sewing done. But now they're a bit older, they go to bed a bit later, I usually only get like 20-minute chunks. So I'm quite good at, like, I'll batch cut, and when I'm sewing, I'll sew, like, I won't go through an instruction, and I'll like do bits that all need done together that I can all overlap together, or so yeah, I tend to like do things in batches, like all in the one time. So yeah.
So we had a question in the chat about did you make your blouse and what's the pattern?
And maybe I should have checked this before. So this is yes, I did, and it's just a gingham poplin, I think, and I think it's got pigeon wishes buttons on it, which are quite cute. They're like little like sort of pastel-y, and it is Fibre Moods. I'm going to find out. It's one of their, I think I want to say ETA or something, but it's got a seam down the front. This is my daughter's come to say goodnight. You can come in.
Night, Mum. Bye. See ya.
Night.
Bye,
say
see
hi
ya.
to everyone.
Hello.
Oh,
Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Night. I knew she wouldn't be able to resist to see what was going on. Yeah, so it's a fibre mood one. Nora, I think, or no, I can't remember, but it's in.
we'll find out, and I'll put it in the caption later.
Thank you. So yeah, so it's a nice one. So it's got the seam down the front, so you can play about with like print. So yeah, it's that one. I've got a couple of them. So
yeah, I've got the sagebrush.
Yeah,
this is my first viscose one. I really like the sleeves are drapey on this one.
Yeah, it's nice and cool. I know I've got so many blouses. I've just been sorting out all my wardrobe and given for the first time I've given away loads of handmaids to charity. So I'm hoping that I don't know, I'm assuming that they'll still sell them on if they're handmade. I don't know if you've had any experience of that, but so yeah, I usually find it really difficult to give away things that I've made. So I've had a big declutter. And so I've now got I can see what I've got, and I'm obviously, given that it's me made me, I'm going to really have a look and see what I've enjoyed wearing at the end of the month, and just try and have another de-stash, and then also just look at what I want to make going forward as well. So yeah. It's a good. I mean, I know that's why Zoe started it, but it is such a good opportunity to just get you thinking, isn't it? About
definitely,
we should take
do it as well.
No. I always think we should do it in December as well, or something, or November, when you've got your winter wardrobe to think about as well.
Yeah, I feel like December wouldn't work. It's too much, is it? And then you'd be like, I wear a lot of sequin dresses, and then it's just because you got a different meal out every night.
And then you're stuck wearing that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you're like, I don't think I need any jeans. I think I need more sequins.
I know, it's so funny. Oh dear, I know.
Right, should we do a really brief little catch up for Thready Stitch Sew and anyone who's just joined?
Yes.
So you surrounded by crafts with your parents, but you didn't start sewing until you did your fashion design course at uni.
Yeah. This is a good tip for you, Viv.
This is to see if I've been paying attention. And then you did a bit of dressmaking after leaving uni, but got more into it a bit later on.
Yeah,
maybe sort of more sort of 10ish years ago, with the sort of rise of Tilly and the Buttons and
so I probably it would have been about 10 years ago. So back into dressmaking in a big way. So but it was always I loved doing it at uni, back into dressmaking in a big way, and just never looked back. So yeah, lots of sewing, but I like to challenge myself. I think when I'm sewing, I do like to wear things that are popular, what other people are wearing. I think that's the retail, because I've worked in retail for so long. I like shopping, and I like seeing what's on trend. I like to know what colours are on trend. So I know that a lot of people have taught and start sewing because they want to get away from what's on the high street because it doesn't suit them, or they want something a bit different. Whereas I like to kind of recreate some of the high street looks. So do
you go to the shops and have a look around for inspiration?
Yeah, and that's why I always love the when Kate does the fold line videos of shop the high street. I always love that. So yeah, I usually go to the shops, have a look, see what colours. I love trying to predict. I did a fashion trend prediction course at uni, and did a work placement, so which is quite good fun, because I try and do that now with the labels. I try and see what's going to happen. I'll look into what's happening on the catwalks and what colours are big, and just do a bit of research into all the different fashion weeks and see what I think is going to be the most popular things and for that season. And I'll try and do certain colours of labels in that colour theme, or so I'm quite heavily influenced by the high street, I would say.
Exciting. So Linda says, did your children inspire you to think of the name Little Rosy Cheeks?
Well, do you know what? It's such a boring reason why I've got the name Little Rosy Cheeks. Because some people sometimes at the shows people call me Rosie as well, because they think it's my name. So they're like, Rosie, it's so good to see. And I always think that's so nice. I don't bother correcting that. but yeah, so no, they didn't actually. The name came from I was just picked a name that I wanted to pick a name that I liked, and I knew I wanted to eventually do children's patterns, so I wanted to be something that would like follow through to that. And there was a little toy shop in Glasgow when I lived in Glasgow years before starting the business, and it was called Rosy Cheeks, and I thought that was a really cute name. And the toy shop closed because the owner moved to New Zealand, and I thought, oh, that name's up for grabs. So but I just added a little in front of it. So, but I think it's a cute name.
It's really cute, and I think it captures the sort of vibe of the labels as well. Like
yeah, and also of my face right now as well. So
it's the wine. It's the one sip.
I know. I've only had like one sip of wine, and my face I'm like melting. So yeah. But yeah, it captures the vibe, and I think like it's a cute name for the patterns. And I worked with a friend at the time who helped me like come up with the logo, and I love the logo because it's got like the dash line and the circle, and it's and the little cheeks. They're quite good fun to play with on different products and packaging and stuff. So yeah,
it's really cute. So 36 Stitch says, do you design the labels, and what is your inspiration to design new ones?
Well, so yes, I do design the labels. For the like sort of, I've actually like a couple of packs of labels I've had some help with, because when you're starting the business, obviously you're all parts of it, and as the business is becoming busier and bigger, it's more difficult for me to get time to do designing, because it's just the practicality of running the business day to day. So I have been getting some help to do the designing of the labels, just with not just with the future ones, so yeah, but at the moment I have been doing designs myself as well. And so my inspiration, which I think was part of the question, so I try and like I've got them sitting here somewhere, but I'll try and like pull together like mood boards of what I want to design, and so I'll think about things. I've basically got like so many screenshots in my phone. If I see something, I'll screenshot it. If I'm out and about, I'll take photos, like street art, or pictures or prints or wallpaper or colours. And sometimes at the shows as well, if like you might see me, if you're walking past me, I'll take a quick picture of your fabric. So I've got loads of pictures of like colour combinations that people have put together in their own fabrics. And because I've like been doing it for a few years now, I kind of understand like what colours work well together with the threads as well. So because the way the labels are manufactured, the threads are woven together, so if they're crossing paths, it can create like a little bit of difference in colour. So I know kind of what colours work well together. So yeah, so my inspiration comes from loads of different places. And sometimes if I've got a label that's been selling well, I'll try and do a little bit of something along the same lines. And then I've just got some labels coming out probably next month, or at the end of this month, which are textured, which are quite good fun. So which I'm really looking forward to sharing with everyone. So sometimes I'll ask like my supplier if they've got anything new that someone's been doing, or is there a new technique or what's the latest thing out there, and they'll sort of share some samples with me, and I'll try and see how I can incorporate that into some of my designs as well. So
that's a really good idea to keep it different and interesting.
Yeah. So and I try not to look at what other people are doing really. Just try and like paddle my own canoe, as they say. So I'll just be thinking about, like I was saying to you earlier, I'm done like a children's affirmation label in a little while, and that's always been like an area, and like the little floral sort of affirmation labels. So I was thinking the other day, I thought I'm going to do another couple of those in the next few months, just because it's just like back to where it sort of began. So yeah,
you can never have like too much positivity in your handmade wardrobe.
100%. I know, and I did like for ages I had loads of people at the shows, and because that's where I'm meeting my customers, is at the shows. So I always kind of get lots of ideas from what people are asking me for, and I kept getting asked for swearing labels all the time, and I've done quite a lot of shows now. do swearing labels, and I thought because it's children's patterns and children's labels, I don't know if that's really for me to do. And then I can't remember where it was I saw it, but I came across the ATSA lately, and with swearing in the middle, and I thought, oh, that's kind of my cup of tea, because it's like in a fun way and it's quite subtle. So we did that label, and it's been really good. So it comes in all different forms of my inspiration, which is nice because it just keeps it interesting and it's like exciting. And sometimes I'll have a plan of what I'm going to do. I was looking back at my mood boards this week and I thought, oh, well, yeah, that would still be a good idea, or no, I'm not going to bother doing, so I'll kind of keep referencing back to what notes I've taken and keep it all in a book. Yeah.
That's really cool. Mel says, are you open to label suggestions, or do you get too many?
Yeah. No, I'm definitely open to, because like I think it's so good to feedback from your customers of what you're going to be doing. And sometimes, like with the classes, because when I'm teaching classes, I'll kind of show people what I'm thinking and say, what do you think? So no, totally open to suggestions. I always get like asked to do loads of different granny, different forms of granny, because I've got made by granny and made by Nana and Nanny, but there's always so many different names of granny. Like, can you do granny in this color, or can you do this Nonna, or can you do Gigi? And sometimes I'm like, guys, I can't have all the grannies. So yeah, but yeah, no, totally open to suggestions.
Exciting. Mel says she's going to be in touch. So
oh yes, please
that's
do.
Really cool.
Please do.
And do you have a label that's the outright bestseller?
The one that's like the best, has always been the bestseller from the beginning, is I Made This, I Can Do Anything, which is like, I love that label so much. It's just like, I've got like in a little jar here. Sorry, I'm just going to lean over. So yeah, so I've got like a little jar here, and I've got some, mostly I keep them all in my studio now, but I just usually take a few out and keep them in this. But yeah, I Made This, I Can Do Anything has always been really popular one, because I just think that that's how you feel, and that label just absolutely sums it up. When you've had something that you've made and you just feel so good about it. So it's got like, I made this, and then I can, on the other side it's got I can do anything. So I'm not very good at, so amazing. It's yeah, I just think it's a little bit of like positivity, and like the front of it's just like an explosion of like celebration. So because when you have made something, it is like, I always used to find like putting a label on it was like a little celebration at the end if you were hand sewing it on. It's like to mark that it's complete. So.
Yeah, I feel like that message as well, it works however the project's gone. Like if the project went really, really well, you're like, yes, I made this, I can do anything. And if the project was like a real slog, you're like, oh, I've got through it, I've done it, I made it, I can do anything. So it works for anything.
Totally, I know. I've got like I had like the jean. I've got another one that says, "I'm a handmade. Imagine what else I can do." So, and I used to have. I'm still got some of the jeans labels as well, because it's like, I made these. Imagine what else I can do, because it is like, people think you're a wizard when you're when you've made something yourself. Like, they can't believe it. So like sometimes if I'm taking the kids to school and the school mum's like, you've not made that, have you? And I'm like, no, I have made. So it's really nice. So yeah, so we're a special breed sewers.
Yeah, and sometimes when you've made something and people say, oh, I could never make that, you say, why not? You could learn it.
Yeah, totally. But there is a lot of that, like you find that in the beginners classes, there's a lot of like it is like a lot of it is like self-confidence, and just lack of, and just having a go. And I think like you just have to be like loads of things. Like I'm not afraid to make mistakes, and I'm kind of like that in the business as well. Just try something. I'm not like risk averse, so I'll just like try something, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't really matter. It's just, there's, something else will come around. So that's kind of the way I see things. So yeah.
That's really exciting. Yeah, a couple of people say Imagine What Else I Can Do is their favourite.
Yeah.
Perfect for making and wearing. Oh, I love wearing things with that label for work.
Yeah, totally.
Motivation you need to get through the day.
Oh, 100%, like show your boss.
Do you have anything you want to show us, Victoria?
Oh yeah, so well, I'm going to say, yeah, I've got some. So I was going to show you some stuff from my stash because you were asking me, you were saying, do you want any? I'm having a little look at I've got some little these. So these are from my stash that I'm like, I need to figure out what to do with. So if there's any suggestions for these little trims, so I know it's nice, isn't it? So I think that might be the right way up. So I think I'm going to try and either do. I think initially I was going to try. I think I've got a meter. Which is maybe I should have bought some more. But I thought I could maybe do like it with a top underneath gathered, or a waistband. I don't know if I've got quite enough for a waistband, but and then maybe straps or something like that. So I've got that one. I'm not sure, but I'll need to have a think about a pattern for that one. And then this little trim as well, which I think is just really sweet.
That's really cute.
Yeah, so I've got those in my stash. So they're something that I have. It would be good to get some advice on. And then I think, like you were asking me as well, you were like, right, is there anything in your stash that you're afraid to cut into?
Yeah.
So,
what's your precious fabric?
But see, I don't really have, like, I was thinking about that. I was like, I have got something to show you though, but I don't have, like, I'm not really, if I buy something nice, then I just like want to use it. I'm not really like, I'll just like get on with it and cut it out. But the only thing is, see, you know, when you've got something to pattern match or like something with a lot of pieces, I'll just like put it off for so long. So I have had for ages, I'm gonna this laid out to cut out, which is, and this is like proper, you're gonna think all Scottish people are obsessed by tartan, but so this is like a tartan wax cotton
One full
that I've
screen.
got. So oh, thank you. There you go. Can you see that? Sorry, I shouldn't have put that light on because it's giving me a funny glow. So yeah, I've got this tartan. I was going to make, so I need to cut into that. I just need to do it. So, but I wanted to do, I think I'm going to do the chain patterns, puff back jacket with it, but lengthen it.
So that's kind of a waterproofy fabric.
Yeah. So it'll be, I wanted to do like a little sort of trench coat. So I'm hoping that I'll make that for autumn. But I have been saying that for the last 2 years. So we'll see how it goes. But this is the pattern. So it's the puff back jacket. You can see it's got the gather at the back, which I thought would be quite a fun way. So I'll have to pattern match. It's got welt pockets. So I'll do, yeah. So that has been in my pile that I'm a bit afraid to cut into, I would have to say. So yeah, but I picked that up. I think I've got like 3 or 4 meters of it. So, but I tend to do like, I kind of like one of the things we were going to talk about was like where you buy your fabric, where I would get my fabric from. So I buy a lot at the shows. Like that's like my big treat at the shows. And I know I keep banging on about the shows, but if you haven't been to a show, you should definitely try and go. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with a show, it's like the Knitting and Stitching Show or the Stitch Festival is just a couple of the big ones that I do. And this year I'll be doing the Alexandra Palace show, and I'm coming to Belfast to do the show in Belfast, which I'm really excited about because my husband's from Northern Ireland, and I think I understand, being Scottish, we don't get a lot of like big fabric shops coming up to the shows in Scotland, so it's I think it'll be really good to go over to Belfast and see everyone over there. So but yeah, I tend to buy a lot of my fabric at the shows, and bits and bobs in between. I like buying from all over, and I do actually try and buy a lot from my stockists as well. So sometimes I'll like to try and support them as well. So I'll buy from shops that stock Little Rosy Cheeks labels, and I'll try and spread it out. So if I see someone's got a fabric, I'll try, and I know they stock the labels, I'll try and buy from them as well. So just to support each other. So yeah, I don't buy my own labels from them. Just just fabric. Yeah, a bit far. But yeah. So my favorite like fabrics to sew in. I love sewing with denim. Absolutely love sewing with denim. So I buy quite a lot of denim. And I like sort of twill, like cotton twills and things like that. So I like to make a lot of jumpsuits and jeans, and I'm a big fan of a Merchant Mills pattern. So I'll make a lot of like Harleen dungarees, Margot pinafore and things like that. And I like those patterns because I like doing something different. And that's why I bought the Xanthi skirt from Sew Over It, because as soon as I saw the pocket, I wanted to make it. So I was like, I need to figure out, I can't wait to see how that's constructed. So I'm definitely driven by interest in patterns, and also just adding, like, so I like sewing things that add to like my sort of mental toolkit, as Jen and I always talk about it. Jen Hogg, who I do the retreats with, we're always talk to like people about their mental toolkit, because it's like every single time you do a pattern, you're adding to like your experience of what you've sewn before that you can lend to another pattern. So
is that like skills that you're
collecting? Yeah, just like gathering your skills. And so I like doing things that I've never done before, and challenging myself that way, working with different fabrics that I've not used before. So always looking for things that are a bit different. So yeah, so that's kind of what inspires me.
Yeah, Linda's going to come along to Ali Pally, so that'll be fun. We'll see you there. And Tanya said they loved your Blanca flight suit at the Stitch Festival.
Oh, thank you.
Is that the pink one?
Yeah, I did a pink one. I've done a couple of those ones. I did a pink one, and I did it was like two different pinks. So it was a railroad denim and then like a wider striped denim. And I just felt so good in that. So I think when you do the shows, I don't always wear, I think I do tend to I like to make things at the shows that are bright colours, because I think it helps you stand out on your stand. So so I always like make new things for the shows. I usually make like 4 new outfits, because it's usually 4-day shows. So I'll just make, and one time I was going to the show in Harrogate, and I don't know if anyone remembers this, but I've left my full wardrobe at home. So I got down to the show, and I had forgotten the suit, and I never use a suit carrier, and I put all my makes into the suit carrier, and then all I had was like a couple of extra things that I'd like chucked into the bag. So I had like a pair of trousers, and then my husband posted the dresses down to me, and I borrowed a dress from Emporia Fabrics that I wore at the show. So I was like, oh my god. But yeah, so I usually make things that are like bright and fun for the shows, because I just think, and nothing that's too hot, because I get really like hot and bothered at the shows. So
yeah, I feel like especially at Stitch it was so hot, like, and before they opened the vent, it was really
it's like, do they not understand? It's mostly like, well, it's a lot of like women all together, and I'm 42 now, so I'm starting to get like quite warm in the evenings, and I'm like, come on guys, open the window. It's hard work shopping, and we need the windows shopping for fabric. There's a lot of stuff to lug around. We need the windows opened. But yeah, so no, I like so that's what I like to sew. I'll make interesting patterns, fashion-led patterns. So I kind of mix it up, and then I do like sewing for my kids as well. So I just made some hopper, which is my trouser pattern for my daughter, in some athletic fabric, which I've been promising her for ages, but she's been wearing those loads. So it's nice because like I try and make the patterns so with deep hems and elastic, so that they can stay with the child a bit longer than something that you buy from Primark or something like that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so it's a lot of variation in what I sew.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I loved how I saw a post that you did recently. I loved how you'd planned all of your makes out with the matching labels.
I know, it's so funny. I've got that board up here actually. So yeah, no, I like to plan in my labels. It's really funny, isn't it? But it's like I've obviously got to remember to put labels in, which is quite important that I do remember. But quite often I'll pin, when I'm cutting out, I'll pin a label to the pattern piece when I'm cutting out. So, because I've got my little jar here, I've got like you think a label producer would have a bigger stash than just a little glass jar.
You've got easy access to them though.
This is like a bit pathetic, isn't it? But anyway, so I've got all my labels at the studio, but so usually when I'm cutting out, if I've got something with a face in or something with a pocket, I usually pin it on to the fabric, or I'll put it, if I've got the instructions printed out, I'll washi tape it onto the instructions, or I'll have it on my board. So I'll be thinking about, I usually know what label I want to do so that I can think about what part of the instructions or the make that I'm going to have to sew it in, because I don't like unpicking to have to slot a label in. So
what's
yeah.
your favourite way to put a label in?
Well, I like it's hard. I like, that's a good question actually, Yvette. I'm thinking. So I do like to hand sew the labels in, but sometimes just a quick and dirty stick it under the machine and get it on. But I do like sitting hand sewing. I like incorporating into seams as well. So, but I usually if I'm making something, I'll try and put more than one on. I know you've got a jacket. Remember, you've got about, how many labels have you got in your little jacket?
I think I've got 3. I put one, so that's the pencils.
The pencils.
So I unfolded it, put the pencils on the pocket. I've got the patch on the back, and I've got one on the sleeve as well.
It's so good. Well, it's like so good. I love it. So I was like, that was actually really encouraged me. I was like, I'm going to start putting like loads of labels on things. So I think that blanket flight suit, I had like one on my bum, and then I'm going to put like I've still got leather ones, so I'll put one on the pocket. But yeah, I try and put a couple in. But I do think about where I'm going to put them. But yeah, I've got to probably do that more. I probably think about that more than the average sewer. So,
You've got to show off your wares though in all your pictures.
I know, and I think like people, when they see like they only just find out that I'm sewing or what I do, they think they don't realise that it's that it says like I made this or handmade. They just think it's like part of the shop or whatever you're doing. So yeah, so I've been doing like quite a bit of like research recently into like the history of sewing labels and where they all came about, because I think it's really interesting, because I remember like when my gran used to make me things, which I was talking about earlier, she used to put ribbon on them, and the ribbon would say like made with love, or made in Scotland, and that she would just get that from the local shop. So sorry, my son's now gone to say good night. Night night. See you in the morning. Let's say good night to Bert.
Good night.
Right, on you go. Night night.
Night night.
See ya. That's Morgan.
So sweet.
He's got his jammies on, he'll be all excited. So yeah, so I forgot what I was saying of it.
About doing research into the history of putting labels in.
Yeah, so my gran used to put ribbon in, and then my mum would put like our names into all of our things on like the name tapes that had like our full names on them. So yeah, so I think it's like people often don't expect it to say like I made this. They just think it's like a branded shop. So it's quite nice. I think it's like a little like secret that you've got, it's nice. And I try now when people ask me or comment on something I'm wearing, if they say, oh, I like your top, I usually try now to say that I've made it, which is like quite, I don't know, sometimes it's quite a cringy thing to like say. I'll be like, oh, thanks. I used to just say thank you, and then if they ask me where I got it from, but now if someone compliments my like something I've made, I usually say, oh, thank you, I've made it. So which I think it's quite good to push yourself out your comfort zone and tell people that what you do. So it's good.
Yeah, it's definitely good, and then it like, I don't know, raises awareness for it as well, and
it leads to really interesting conversations with people as well. I love chatting to people, so yeah, you do end up having like a chat, and they usually know someone or interested or know someone in their life that's sewn or knitted or something for them. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice conversations that happen. So,
unless they say, oh, will you sew one for me, and then you have to run.
apart from that, it's like no like that's not happening.
So we've got a couple of questions about the swing it, shake it, move it, make it label.
Oh yeah,
they will come back in stock.
Yeah, so they should be back in. I was just chasing that today. I don't know why I feel like I need to like get one out of my jar to have in my hand, but I'm going to do it anyway. So yeah, they should be back in stock. I'm hoping next week. I've just been chasing that, so I know I've been really blown away by that label, how popular it is. So I don't know if you can see it there, a little Spice Girls label. So yeah, so there was meant to be a little like a history about that label. There was meant to be like a whole range of music themed labels, but I was finding it difficult to get it right with the supplier. Some of the other ones that I was going to do, so we just went for this one. But I loved like tweaking the lyrics, so it said "swing it, shake it, move it, made it." But I think it's really nice for summer as well. So and I'm a bit of a Spice Girls fan, being a child of the 90s. So yeah. So yeah, so that should be back in stock next week, hopefully. But I'll make sure I'll let everyone know when it's back.
Brilliant. And also, what is your favourite colour on fabrics or your favourite prints?
Oh, well, I think so. My favourite colours, and my house is all these colours, are all the colours as well. So like I like sort of mauves, lilacs, greens, denims. Quite like, I don't know, you know how whenever people go and get their colours done, am I maybe like a spring or something palette? So I'm not sure, but yeah, so I wear a lot of blues, navies, lilacs, pinks. I think like they suit like blondes, those sort of colours. And but yeah, I'm really driven by colour. Like my house, although I'm sitting in probably the one room in my house that's white, but which because I want to do some decoration in this sewing room, but the rest of my house is full of colour. So yeah, and it's all like similar colours, like dark greens and yeah, like bright yellows and all that, and all different shades, but all quite tonal. So yeah, I wear a lot of, and prints. I do I've been making a lot of like plains recently. I'm still obviously a bit of a gingham. I still think gingham's having a moment. And wearing like a big gingham here. And then I still would buy a stripe. But yeah, I do wear a lot. I do make quite a lot of plains. I've been making quite a lot of plains at the moment, and with a bit of floral. So yeah, I do.
I think that's because you like doing patterns with like interesting details, and you want to sort of show that off with a plain.
Yeah. And I think the type of fabric, because I've been buying a lot of like Cupro and just like different fabrics. So like I like sewing with like linen at this time of year, but when we were doing the latest sewing retreat, Jen and I were looking to do the goodie bags, and we found some really nice printed linen, because it's not something that you see very often, printed linen. So we got some of that. So I did a Merchant Mills Omele top that had like, it's got, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like got buttons all down one side. And it's got like a sort of it's got really interesting pattern pieces, because it's got the sleeve, it's all one section that comes right round to the front. So it's one of the, I sometimes think Merchant Mills, well, I've overlooked them in the past, some of their patterns, but they're always like really interesting.
Yeah, I think I need to check out their patterns more. I don't like their pattern envelopes.
Yeah,
where they've got the thing like lying on the floor all screwed up, and I'm like, this doesn't look fun. But if you see them on somebody, and then they're really nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, give them a look, because they've got, I like a lot of them are interesting, and sometimes you just overlook them slightly. But yeah, I do tend to. That's like, I'm not shy of trying things, but I do tend to go for like muted, sort of spring tones, I'd say, and bright colours.
Right, we'll slip in one more question before we wrap things up. Mel says, how do you feel when you spot people wearing your labels?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so good. I really enjoy seeing it, and I think people like always proudly show me their makes when it's got a label on it. Like, I'll quite often, people will be like, look at the like, show me thing. So yeah, I absolutely love it. It just feels great. Feels like so connected to the maker, and it's really, I feel quite humbled actually. Like, I'll be like, oh, it's nice to have done something that someone's sewn into their garment, especially like the last few times as well. Well, the last time I was doing the show was the first time people were starting to show me children's patterns that they'd made. So that was like a big moment for me as well, because we're putting a lot of work into that to try and build the range and establish that. So it was nice to see like people like making the pattern. Like, I had one lovely customer who, when the day the pattern was released, she had it bought, printed out, and made within 3 hours. and I got mixed up thinking that she was a pattern tester. And so that just was amazing that she'd done that. And I was just like, oh God, but it was just the like British side of me was also like, oh, everything was okay. And it was like, but
I'm sorry. And they're like, why?
You had to make it so quickly. But yeah, no, so it's like that's been like really special, like seeing people making the patterns and seeing like kids in them, because like having like I've talked a few times tonight about my gran making me a dressing gown, and I do remember that, and I'll never, I'll always remember that. And I think that's nice that I've then, like, my patterns will be like that for other children, that they'll remember certain things that their mums made for them or their gran. So yeah, it's nice to be part of that. So yeah,
it's just like a line going through all the generations, isn't it?
I know, isn't it? I know. It's really cool. It is. It's really special.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Victoria.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much for asking me.
Just
comments. Yay.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Well, thank you, Jessica, for joining. I know I hopefully see you at the Knitting and Stitching show.
Yes.
Thanks, Linda and Mel and everyone else who's joined live as well.
Thank you.
Hope you had a really good evening.
I know,
just
thank you
chatting
so
away
much.
with us. And yeah, if you missed any of the episode, it's all going to be on YouTube to catch up if you want to catch the beginning bit or any of it you missed. But yeah, have a good night, and thanks again, Victoria.
No, thank you so much, Yvette. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.